it's incredible! Bang on target!
So welcome back. Thank you very kindly for staying glued to Pan-African Television. Like I intimated before the break, we're going to be discussing a number of issues here, issues that are of relevance to you and I and the rest of us in this country and beyond. Let me quickly take you through the topics again before I introduce my panelists for today's conversation. I apologize to you greatly for starters for starting the newspaper review segment a little late. I apologize to you greatly. It was beyond our control, but we're back, and that's the most important thing this morning. Make asset declaration public. Oseche Owusu is advocating for that, and that was captured by the Daily Graphic newspaper. It's on its front page. Kafaba victim recount ordeal, and I'm sure you are aware that it's in relation to the lynching of the 90-year-old woman that has sparked some very some outrage across social media platforms and across, generally across the country. And so we're going to be touching on that particular story here as well. You cannot be misbehaving and run away from 2020 campaign. Ken Ejapon to Ernest Addison, the governor of Bank of Ghana. Fresh tension at Owusu as Ghanaian traders lock up Nigerian shops. This is going to be our African story for today. And so, like I also intimated before the break, you recall that I mentioned the panelists for today, and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to rehash it again. We have here in the studios with us Honorable Inusa Fuseni here seated, doing some wonders in the north, not just in his constituency, in the north generally. In almost all the constituencies, he's doing one thing or the other. Good morning to you, Honorable.
Good morning.
And thank you very kindly for your time today.
Thank you.
I'll ask you why you're doing that, but let me introduce Richard Asante as well. Richard, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
You flew from UTV to Pan-African Television. Thank you very much.
This is the reason for why we are late.
And Mr. Pratt is also here seated. Good morning to you, sir. So these are the topics, these are the panelists. We're going to get straight into it. But Honorable, why are you doing all of these things in the north?
Two reasons. Adapt a constituency, adapt a branch. I mean, the party launched that campaign. I thought that I would adapt a lot of constituencies in the north and also northeast and try to assess them. I have been 14 years in parliament, 15 years to say the least. And then I've gained enough experience. I have contested 4 elections. So if I put those experiences before the people and help them with resources, I'm sure they should be able to take back the seats. And I'm already working in orphan constituencies. I'm not working in constituencies where there are sitting MPs.
Solid. Thank you. Are you going to Nalerigu Gambaga soon?
I'm there.
You're there? Okay. All right. First station at Owusu as Ghanaian traders lock up Nigerian shops. That's our African story for today. And I want to start with Richard Asante, particularly because beyond politics, he's also a businessman. And I'm sure that this will be of great interest to him as it would us. So, Richard, please, let's hear from you.
I think good morning to my senior colleagues on the panel, and also good morning to your amazing viewers. Anytime I hear of tension between our brothers from Nigeria and that of our people of Ghana, it sort of worries me, because I understand some of these things, the repercussions and the ramifications thereof if you do not manage the situation very well. Because what it is that we do have Ghanaian businessmen and women in Nigeria, and they do have some here. But at the end of the day, we have laws in these two countries that governs the operations and also how business ought to be conducted. But at the end of the day, what I want people to do is not to take the laws into their own hands and enforce them. That is why there are state institutions that ought to apply some of these laws. I know this story, and it's been running for some time, not only at Abosoka, you know of Circle, that area there are a lot of tension. If you go to Makola, Kanshi area, there are issues here and there. But you know, Guta and its affiliate bodies ought to make sure that these things are handled pretty well. Because we ought not to jeopardize the relationship between ourselves and Nigeria any further, because it has been bruised a bit because of some of the conduct of certain individuals, sometimes from the people from Nigeria. We have an incident where Nigerian came to Ghana, kidnapped these Takrady girls, killed some of them and all those kind of things. It doesn't really engender and also enhance the beautiful relationship that we had over the period. You do not also want the situation where a Ghanaian will take the laws into his hands and go to, say, a facility belonging to the Nigerian High Commission, then go and demolish it. Those things do not work out, and it doesn't help anybody. If there are issues, I do believe that there are proper mechanisms that ought to be applied to deal with some of these issues. But taking the laws into your own hands, individuals walking to shops and locking them down and all those things, it doesn't really augur well for all of us. We can sit down, judge, and think through and see how we can assist each other. We know that there are conditions as to how they can operate, and those conditions they ought to follow. If they think that they are too stringent, there are ways to also petition the system and get some of these issues relaxed and all that. But we ought not to entertain any crash, because you remember a couple of years ago when there was an xenophobic attack in South Africa, all of us were up in arms and were very furious. We were angry about the situation, and we thought that it ought not to happen. So in the same vein, we pray that the people who are managing the leadership of these two bodies, Guta and that of the Nigerian business men, because I have a good number of friends who are from Nigeria. They are doing amazing things in this country, supporting
the president has been in Ghana for 25 years.
Yes, I mean, I know Mr. Frank Nelson. I mean, Hasufok. He's an amazing brother. He's a great friend, a senior brother. He's an awesome man. He has hotels, all kinds of businesses. He's been conducting his business diligently in the country. I know a good number of them. So what you want is that you do not want these crashes. It doesn't really help us. And now I know that they said they are ready to go to the table and dialogue. And that is what we all seek from some of these things, because you can never use violence to address issues of humanity. It doesn't work. You end up destroying everybody. You don't destroy the other person that you're fighting alone. You end up hurting yourself alone. I've not seen any war where both sides did not lose or there was no casualties. There will be casualties. It will affect businesses. And remember that, I mean, if there are certain businesses that you ought to go to the other business partner to even take that, because some of them will be wholesalers, and usually they are mostly supposed to be involved in the wholesale, not the retail aspect of the trade. I think that has been the difficulty, and the minimum capital that they are supposed to use, and those things has been difficult for any government to even measure up, because the registration process and all those, most of the time people do not even do it. And I think that we need to handle this thing very well, so that at least we can have that peace we have within the sub-region. Because within the sub-region, you're looking at the giants, Ghana, Nigeria. And I think over the years, Ghana is even performing better. For the last 2 years, Ghana has been leading Nigeria and leading the sub-region in terms of the attraction of foreign direct investment. Ghana is attracting more investment into that. We are seeing car assembling companies coming here. You are seeing Toyota, you're seeing Nissan, you're seeing all kinds of VW, and all those companies, Sinotrack, all of them coming to set up because of the conditions that have been created, the enabling environment that have been created to help and pull some of these investment into the country. We can continuously do that if you do not go into some of these type of work, because we know Dangote is in the process of doing something big in the country, and we need to support each other, and that has been the trend. Let's not fight each other, because we are really one and the same. We come from different countries, all right, but the point is that, I mean, it doesn't really speak well of us if we do not apply the laws and we allow people to go out there and do things, because we are not in a jungle situation, and that is what ought to be looked at.
Thank you very, very much, Richard Asante. Let me remind you again that the WhatsApp number is 0260846539, and we're also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Please kindly share it, share it, share it, so that a lot of us can get to watch it as well. Not just you. You don't have to have the luxury of watching the morning show alone. You have to make sure that everybody watches it. Let me just go for this quick commercial break. When I come back, I will now move to Honorable Inisa Fuseni and then Mr. Pras. Stay with us.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned into Pan-African Television. This again is a news preview segment here on your #1 station, Pan-African Television. We're still discussing the issue that has got to do with what is happening between the Nigerian businessmen and the Ghanaian business men and women in Ghana. Honorable, please, let's hear from you.
Well, let me say thank you once again to my co-panelists, my brother Kosi Pratt, my friend Richard Asante, and then to wish all Muslims tomorrow is Eid al-Adha, to move them in the traditional greetings of Islam to say kullu sana wa antum bi khair. May you be favored every year this time of the year.
Amen.
The matter we are discussing today is a very important matter. It's a matter that touches and challenges our Africanness, and particularly citizens of ECOWAS, because there is free movement of people and goods in ECOWAS, and there's a right of residence in each other's country. And so the people of the sub-region, that's the ECOWAS region, have by ECOWAS protocols the right to move across boundaries and also allow their goods to move around boundaries. So, you know, trade is a veritable tool for the eradication of poverty. And so if you create opportunities for people to trade, to move, you eradicate poverty both ways. First of all, people get rich by being exposed to markets. Then the market ensures that goods become cheaper because of competition. So people who access those goods will access them at a cheaper cost, and so money will be left in their pocket. So both ways, trading is good. But trading, KOD, must be done within the ambits of the law.
Absolutely.
The fulcrum, the basis of the exclusion of Nigerians or the regulation of activities of foreigners in this country is the GIPC Act, Ghana Investment Promotion Act. That has provided standards, requirements for people who want to trade in this country. Now the fact that you can move freely across the borders in our country or in our respective countries does not entitle a Ghanaian to participate in some types of businesses in Nigeria. Does not also entitle a Nigerian or a Togolese to participate in some type of trading activities in Ghana. Neither does it entitle a Ghanaian to participate in trading activities in Togo. Why? Because within our various jurisdictions, our national governments have responsibility to provide enabling conditions for its citizens, not the citizens of West Africa. Buhari has no obligation to provide conditions that will enable Ghanaians to thrive in Nigeria. He has no such responsibility. Neither does Nana Akufo-Addo have responsibility to provide for conditions that will make Nigerians thrive in Ghana. No. Both presidents have responsibility to ensure that they create conditions that would create prosperity for their citizens. And one such condition, as I said earlier, is in facilitating trade, in ensuring that the people are able to trade amongst themselves. But that doesn't exclude Nigerians from trading in Ghana. They must register and trade within the laws of the country. That is to say, if you are going to do retail trading, the law says that you must have invested $1 million. So you need proof that you have invested $1 million to be able to engage in retail trading. All the supermarkets, or what do you call them?
The department shops.
Yeah.
The shops that we have are not, most of them are not owned by Ghanaians.
Yeah.
But that's retail trading they are engaged in. Retail trading is reserved for Ghanaians. But you have these shops doing retail trading because there is evidence that they have invested more than $1 million in their businesses, and they have employed Ghanaians up to the requisite number allowed by law. That way nobody says anything. So if Nigerians want to trade in Ghana, we are not saying that they should go and open shops in Makola or Makola. They can trade, but they must meet the law. We are not saying that they should go and put their wares in wheelbarrows and be pushing them around like the Chinese. No, the Chinese can trade, but they must obey the laws of the country. If they don't obey the laws of the country, they are stealing. Just like Galamsey. I hear that the MPP took it as a policy that they should go and mine. I listen to you, Mr. Kusiprat. That they should go and mine the Galamsey fees because they needed money to fund the party. That's stealing. That's stealing. I mean, Galamsey just stepped. You are stealing resources of the state and converting it to yourself. If you engage in retail trading without following the laws, you are stealing, because they are not able to take the appropriate tax from you, so you are taking the tax. That's theft. That's stealing. And so, and if you engage in retail trading without employing Ghanaians, you are making Ghanaians unemployed, because you are taking the opportunity that was created for them. Richard Sante, you are into that trading. If a Ghanaian comes and takes over from you, he's making you unemployed thereby.
That's true.
You see, and that is the problem. So we are saying, yes, a Nigerian can come and compete with you. But because you are a Ghanaian, you don't need to show that you have invested $1 million. But that Nigerian will have to show that he has invested $1 million. Because that's an entry barrier. So we are not discriminating against them. Yeah. We are just saying that Nigerians should follow the law. Ghanaians should follow the law in Nigeria if they want to trade. Togolese should follow the laws in Ghana or anywhere that they want to trade. And Guta is well within its power to demand that the Nigerians show evidence that they have complied with the law. If there is no such evidence, that your trading activity is illegal in the first place. It's illegal. This is not to say that you are discriminated. No, there's nothing about that. It's an enforcement of the law. And I don't want it to look like Nigerians and Ghanaians have been... No, the Nigerians were here in 1969. The deportation order got all Nigerians to go back. Why? Because we thought that we needed to take care of our people first before we took care of Nigerians. 99 days in Agege also exposes the fact that when it became tough in Nigeria, Nigerians thought that their duty was first of all to their citizens than to any other person. So they expelled people who walked back to Ghana. It was not a punishment to Ghanaians. They were just demonstrating that they needed to take care of Nigerians first with their limited resources because before they could look outside to see who they could help. Yes, even with the 99 days in Nigeria and the expulsion of Nigerians in Ghana in 1969, some Ghanaians still remained. The famous example I can give you is my own boss, Alhaji Rahim Badamosi. The name itself shows clearly that he is not a Ghanaian and a native Ghanaian. But he rose to become the Director General of the Ghana Education Service of Nigerian parentage. So it is not all Nigerians who went back. Some Nigerians stayed. Just like when the expulsion of Ghanaians in Nigeria occurred, it's not all Ghanaians who came back. You just mentioned Frank Nelson. I agree with you. Wonderful person. I've interacted with him before. Wonderful. He's a Nigerian, but he's operating his businesses within
confines of the law.
The law. So, my brother Nigerians, those who are in Ghana, you are our brothers. We are brothers. We are members of ECOWAS. We have a responsibility to ensure that we provide conditions that will be conducive for you to engage in trading. That is why we have put in the laws. If you want to trade, just abide by the laws, and nobody can worry you. And for the purposes of enforcement of the law, market, when they say don't engage in retail trading in the market, market is the territorial confines of Ghana. Anywhere. If you go even to Aburi to open a shop, it's a market.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Pratt.
Well, you know, there is a principle in international relations called reciprocity. A very important principle in international relations. The principle of reciprocity can also simply mean that those who seek equity ought to come with clean hands. It can also simply mean that do unto others what you would like others to do unto you. And if we take the principle of reciprocity in international relations into account, what is happening in Abosokan is exceedingly dangerous for Ghana and the Ghanaian people. Because there are hundreds of thousands of Ghanaians also operating in Nigeria. And I've been to Nigeria a couple of times. The manner in which Ghanaian traders operate in Nigeria is not substantially different from the manner in which Nigerian traders operate in Ghana. So if we insist on the law, and if Nigeria should insist on the law, what would happen? We should begin to apply common sense. Nothing complicated. Just let us apply common sense. Listen, I believe that it is time that the authorities of Ghana and Nigeria sat down, in spite of the law, to identify the problem, to find the causes of the problem, and to craft laws which would deal with the concrete situations of West Africans operating in West Africa. Yes, the existing laws, there's the ECOWAS protocol and so on. Are those laws and protocols adequate to cater for the needs of the citizens of West Africa? Especially when our desire is to move towards greater integration. If we have to follow the prescriptions of our founding fathers, the greatest Africans and so on, those who shaped our thinking and so on, like Padmore, like Du Bois and so on, ultimately we should be moving towards one country called Africa. It may become the Federal Republic of Africa and so on. But Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, everything, like Cote d'Ivoire, would all be citizens of one country. Shouldn't that begin to inform what we do today? In any case, the Guta members who are complaining, what are the practical problems that they face today? And how will the expulsion of Nigerians or the closure of Nigerian shops solve those concrete problems? One of the problems they are facing are high taxes, exceedingly high taxes. And the expulsion of Nigerians or the closure of their shops would not address that problem. One of the problems they are facing stems from the liquidity, what they call, is it surplus income or whatever, of the average Ghanaian worker. The level of unemployment in Ghana also affects trading and so on. How would the closure of Nigerian shops directly resolve that concrete problem which faces Ghanaian traders and so on? Perhaps both Ghanaian traders and Nigerian traders can sit together and think about their common problems and find a solution to it and pressurize governments in West Africa to adopt measures which will make us, you understand. Now all this is happening. Nobody is paying attention to the multinational corporations which have invaded West Africa and are bleeding us to death. In the case of crisis, when we feel the pinch of economic crisis and so on, we turn onto each other and kill ourselves and maim ourselves and so on, when we may not be responsible for the problems that befall us. So in South Africa, when ordinary people face unemployment, they attack West Africans, they beat them and they kill them. And then in reprisal, Nigerians also attack South Africans and so on. This madness must stop at some point. It has to stop at some point. You understand? First of all, how did we become Ghana and Nigeria and Togo and La Côte d'Ivoire and so on? How did we become Ghana, Nigeria, Togo and so on? If we are allowed Africa to go through the natural processes of state formation and so on, perhaps today we would not have Nigeria and Ghana. If we had allowed what led to the creation of the Songhai Empire to continue, what led to the creation of the Mali Empire, the old Ghana Empire, the Ashanti Empire and so on to continue, perhaps today the whole of West Africa would have been one country. The interruption by imperialists has led to all these needless and senseless divisions in Africa. My brother, what did they do? The European powers sat at a conference in Berlin. They put the map of Africa on the table and drew lines across it and declared states. It was so arbitrarily done that it doesn't make sense anymore. You cross the Ghana-Togo border, and I'm sure that Honorable and Richard are perhaps familiar with that situation. One house, and I've said this so many times that it's becoming a cliche.
Yeah, it's true.
One house, the kitchen is in Togo, the bathroom is in Ghana. How did that come about? Did we create that situation? We didn't. So we should rise above the impositions of imperialism. We should rise above the impositions of the colonial empire and begin to reconstruct a new Africa with a new vision. A new Africa which brings our people together, which encourages our people to work together, which encourages our people to dream together, which encourages our people to see their problems as common problems and so on, and stop this needless and useless division. It doesn't help anybody who is African. Anglo and Ashanti, when they come into our country, they don't care whether we are Ghanaian or Nigerian. They will take as much gold as they can, make as much profit as they can, whether it's Nigeria or Togo or whatever. You understand? And that should inform us. That is our reality. And we should work on the basis of our reality. You understand? Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire nearly went to war over oil and gas resources. Ghana was declared the winner. What happened? We gave the oil to ExxonMobil and to Tallow and so on. We gave it to them and took only 13.5%. You understand? If La Côte d'Ivoire had won, what would they have done? They would have handed it over to Total. Is that how sensible we are? Is that how sensible we are? Is that the Africa we want to build? Yes, there's a dispute between Ghanaian traders and Nigerian traders. I can understand that dispute. Okay, you understand. But those of us who have had the benefit of the teachings of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who have had the benefit of the teachings of George Patmore and so on, those of us who are privileged enough to understand the law and so on, must rise above this pettiness and begin to preach a united Africa which whose people would own their own resources and exploit those resources for the collective benefit of the African people. That's our challenge. You understand? Otherwise, tomorrow, South Africans will be lynching Ghanaians. Ghanaians will be lynching Nigerians. Nigerians will be lynching people from Mauritania and so on. To whose benefit? Some of it is clearly xenophobic. Some of this is clearly xenophobic. And we should not encourage xenophobia. We should not encourage xenophobia. Why? The Ghanaian working class and the Nigerian working class, don't they have something in common? The bourgeoisie in Ghana and the bourgeoisie in Togo, are they not aligned? If the bourgeoisie in Ghana and the bourgeoisie in La Côte d'Ivoire are aligned, why is the working class in Ghana and La Côte d'Ivoire not aligned? Why are we not looking at things from the perspective, from the class perspective, and are looking at things from the perspective of what language you speak and so on? The language you speak doesn't matter. Look, if you go to the cabinet meeting chaired by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you get Evers in the cabinet meeting, you will get Dagombas in the cabinet meeting, you will get Akan-speaking people in the cabinet meeting, you will get Gas in the cabinet meeting and so on. At that cabinet meeting, don't they act as one people with a common interest? President John Mahama's cabinet, who was absent from President John Mahama's cabinet? And yet, the rest of us who are not in cabinets, who are not in national leaders, are encouraged to kill each other and beat each other because of our ethnic differences. Those who are leading us, those who have taken hold of our sovereignty and are exploiting it for their own, sometimes parochial interests and so on, they do not divide on the basis of tribe, language, and so on. We should also not divide on the basis of tribe, language, and so on. We should unite and pursue a common African agenda. Finish.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. 026084653 is the WhatsApp number, and we're also streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. You can share with us what your thoughts are on this.
The Constitution, when it was drafted, had not yet come into force, so the first provision, the first requirement is 3 months, within 3 months after coming into force of this Constitution. That has since been spent because the Constitution is more than 25 years, so that provision is never operative now. And so before assuming office, that person should declare his assets. Why do we require a public officer to declare his assets? Because a public officer, when he occupies office, comes into huge resources. And to fight the conversion of resources for personal use, you want to know the state of wealth of that person before assuming that office. It's important so that at the end of his term, or 4 years after the first declaration, that you should be able to assess whether that person has acquired wealth which is unexplained, so that you can then begin to investigate.
Okay.
Now, the asset declaration regime has been abused with impunity because public officers have not complied. The recent most profound shock that the country received was when Jean Mensa, the electoral commissioner, filed the declaration of her assets 1.5 years after she had assumed office. 1.5 years. The Constitution says before assuming office. She filed 1.5 years. Her deputy, Bosman Asari, filed 1.5 years after occupying office. The Chief Justice, when he appeared before the vetting committee, admitted that when he was nominated to the Supreme Court and appointed to that court, he has since not filed his declaration of assets. The question is, with all these admissions, what has happened to them? Chief Mensa is adding another dimension. Says, look, if you declare your assets are put in an envelope and they are left with the Auditor General. The Constitution says that they are not supposed to be opened. They can only be opened by an order of the court, or when a committee of inquiry established pursuant to Article 278 of the Constitution is sitting on the matter, or the person who has declared his asset is being investigated. That are the instances under which the declaration of assets can be opened. Now, civil society organizations are saying that if you want to fight corruption and illegal enrichment of public offices, then all of us need to know what assets they had before they assumed office.
Absolutely.
And for instance, if I declare my assets and I state that I have a house in Kumasi and I'm from Kumasi, people in that, and I give the house number of that house, people in Kumasi should be able to know whether what I've said is true or not. They should be able, okay, because if I seal it, they will not know that I've declared it or not declared it. They will not even know that probably my declaration is in anticipation of acquisition. Okay, I've declared that I have a house in Kumasi, thinking that when I occupy a public office, I will acquire one. You understand? So we will not know. And so that is the civil society organizations are saying that if you really want to fight corruption, then you need to, because this Code of Public Officers bill is intended to be another sunshine legislation, a legislation that we normally call anti-corruption legislations. That is, to throw more light on the activities of public officers in order to help us fight corruption. And so, most people say, let's publish. If we don't publish, we are not changing anything. The John Dramani Mahama, the flag bearer, has said that too. He says that, look, his appointees, he will order his appointees to publish their assets before they assume office. And so, yes, John Dramani Mahama is talking, Chairman Sabosu is just communicating in another way what John Dramani Mahama has said. It's good, except that you need to take the requirements of the right to information law into consideration. Because whatever information is contained in a declaration of asset form is personal information. And the right to information law says you can't disclose the personal information of a person without his consent. So you need to balance that. So, and in public interest, will it be in public interest to publish? Because the right to publish a person's personal details can only be overridden by the requirements of public interest.
Okay.
Okay, so, and the right to information, section 17 makes it very clear. It can only be overridden by public interest. So, will it be in the public interest so to do? For me, why I'm happy about this bill is that, one, just like I gave examples of the Electoral Commissioner and her deputy and the Chief Justice who could not be sanctioned, this bill prescribes deterrent sanctions. For instance, if a person willfully neglects to file his declaration form consistent with the tenets of the Constitution and the law, that will be a breach of the Constitution and the law. So that person can be declared to be otherwise unfit to hold public office. So you know that if this law were in place, James Mensah would have been out. James Mensah would have been out by now. You know that. You see, or the Chief Justice would not have occupied that office, because if he couldn't declare his assets when he couldn't, because he would otherwise be declared unfit. Because we have breached the Constitution. The Constitution is the highest law of the land. So that's the first thing I think. The law, the Constitution, the law that we are trying to promulgate doesn't only talk about publication of assets. It also talks about conduct of public officers. For instance, why will it be possible for a public officer to go to work and be drinking alcohol? Why? It's not allowed anywhere. So the conduct of a public officer who goes to work and confines or uses the office hours to drink alcohol would be punishable, would be sanctioned. 3, we are men and women, girls and boys, working in workplaces. It should not be the case that male superiors can sexually harass female juniors, or female superiors can sexually harass male juniors. It should not. So sexual harassment cannot be tolerated. Now, Siraj also is mandated by law under this the Code of Public Conduct of Public Officers Bill. Siraj is mandated, when we finally pass this into law, to develop a code of ethics. It should not be acceptable for a person to use office hours in his office to work lotto or to pursue other matters which are unrelated to his work office. So, yes, and these matters are part of the gamut of matters that this law is seeking to address, and not only in a publication of or declaration of assets. They are all compulsory, and that's why I think that. But I think that we should try to strike a balance between publication of the declaration forms and also the protection of the personal privacy of a person guaranteed under the Constitution.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mr. Hussaini. Well, Richard.
I think I largely associate myself with the sentiments and comments expressed by my senior colleague, Honorable Mr. Hussaini, on this subject matter. I mean, like we say, the Constitution is a living instrument. It ought to have its essence in the lives of the people. If what it is supposed to curtail or promulgate or promote is not doing so, then it means that something ought to be done about it. And you realize that civil society has been active in terms of this Asset Declaration Act. When you look at it, the Act 550 of the Public Office Holders and Declaration of Assets Law, and look at the Constitution, you realize that there are some inconsistencies. Yes, particularly Clause 1 of Article 286 of it. So there has even been calls for the amendment of same to reflect the current trend. And looking at that, I'm sure that government, and I know I've heard the AG, Madam Gloria Kufu, intimate that going forward, she's looking at it and also bringing a memorandum to Cabinet for approval so that subsequently to go to Parliament for Parliament to look at it so that the needful would be done. And I think that that is how we need to do. At every stage that we have, we need to make sure that we tighten the loose ends. Because you see, based on what we've seen about crime and also criminally minded human beings in society, I mean, they try to always outwit the system. So they exploit the loopholes within the legal framework and do it. Like you're saying, I mean, I support some of these names that you've mentioned. I support them, and I know that they're men and women of integrity. However, you realize that based on the idea that they do not do something like that, it doesn't really speak well. And I think there are countless number of names that could be mentioned. There's no leaving the name that you mentioned. It cuts across the political divide. There have been ministers, MPs, and all that when they were given the opportunity, instead of doing that, they did not do it. So it tells you that people are not taking those aspects of the Constitution very serious. I mean, the same Constitution that gives you certain privileges, you're enjoying them and you are embracing them. So what about the others that would seek to protect the public purse? And that is it. Like he gave a classical example. So I have a house in Kumasi. The person doesn't provide the location of the house. He doesn't provide the address of the place. There's nothing. So he becomes a minister or whatever it is, and the next time around, he goes to acquire something. Because the idea is that you want to see whether the things that the person is acquiring is being supported by the salary or the monument or the money that is receiving. If I'm paid 10,000 Ghana cedis a month, and within a space of 4 years, I'm able to acquire a $30 million aircraft, obviously I'm a thief. I'm corrupt. No, unless you won some lottery. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
No, or maybe you've been bequeathed with some, or somebody have gifted you something. But if these things are not so, and you came to the office having one, bedroom somewhere, and all of a sudden you have about 50 properties, I mean, how did you get them? So those things will help us unravel some of these difficulties. And I think that it has to protect all of us and it saves the public. I mean, no matter what it is, somebody we need men and women of integrity. Those are charades and they are words that we use to comfort our souls. I mean, those things, I mean, even those Judas Iscariot was part of Jesus' disciples. He was actually in charge of the accounting session. All the sermon Jesus preached got into his head, but still he sold him for coins. So it tells you that no matter the kind of people that you assemble, there will be one or two who would have some dubious character.
Yep.
And people, some of them will come in angels, but before the second term or before even you get into the first year or second year of your administration, they've become Satan incarnate. And that they will be doing things and raping the nation dry. So these kind of laws would help. And I think that I support the idea. But also you need to fit it into the concept of the right to information laws that Honorable spoke about. Because you see, you are looking at two issues here. The desire for the public to know that indeed this person has published this. Not that you put something in a paper and put an envelope, nobody can open it, you go and put it in a safe. So what is the meaning of that? What does it achieve? What do we gain from that? Assuming I just put empty sheets of paper and put it in an envelope and come and put it there. Nobody will open it. So who will know it? Assuming somebody lie on something and go and so there's no way to even to verify and validate the claims or whatever it is, even if there's even something on the paper in the envelope that is being deposited at the auditors did not depart. I think those are the things that we need to look at, and I think that's where evolving. We need to find ways of dealing with that.
Okay.
I mean, so that we can protect the public, because we do so, and we are protecting the vulnerable in society. No. Because some of the monies and people are looting here and there. You realize that if we protect and we have these stringent laws in place, I mean, somebody can get some school. Water can be provided for some place where the people are not getting water. Electricity can be provided to communities where they are not getting electricity. We can improve on our health system. We can create jobs for the people. Yeah. So we ought to make sure that we protect every penny. And every penny means that putting measures in place that will tighten the ability for people to steal.
Right. Thank you very much, Richard. Mr. Pratt.
Well, I think the access declaration provisions in the law and perhaps in the Constitution in themselves cannot prevent corruption. They just aid the process, you understand. And the fact that one has acquired access way beyond what the person may have had before coming into office is not necessarily proof of corruption. Okay. I agree with Honorable Che Mensa Bonsu that the current regime lends itself to abuse and that we need to change the current regime. Of course, this is not new. This debate has been raging since 1991 when the Constituent Assembly was trying to put together the Constitution, when the efforts were being made to put together a Constitution for the country. One of the issues which has come up is whether or not spouses should also declare their assets. And I recall that in 1992, the position of the New Patriotic Party was that spouses should declare their assets. So I was expecting that when the New Patriotic Party came into power in the year 2000, it would change the law. It didn't, and has not changed the law. And since 1992, the law has been the same. So spouses are not expected to declare their assets. But in this country, we've known several situations where heads of states and so on have actually taken over state assets, taken over control of state assets and handed them over to their wives. Under the current assets declaration regime, those matters would not come up and so on. So that's a huge problem. The other problem with the assets declaration regime is the one which has been so eloquently, described by Alhaji Inusa Fuseni. And what is it? You declare your assets to the Auditor General, and the Auditor General keeps the assets. Nobody would ever know of your assets until and unless a court of competent jurisdiction has ruled that those assets ought to be made public or ought to be released to a commission of inquiry or some other thing. So indeed, although we have an asset declaration regime, nobody knows what anybody has and so on, And that, I think, is a major problem with that. However, it seems to me that we are getting to a point where all of this will be history. Because on Monday, I listened to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the former president, at the inauguration of Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, and he was explicit. He said that all his appointees would not just declare their assets, but they would declare the assets publicly. That's the pledge he was making to the nation. In addition to declaring the assets publicly, they will be audited by the Auditor General. So it stops at declaration. There's declaration and then there's a process of verification. Okay? So that takes us one step forward in all of this discussion. One step forward towards greater accountability of public officers and so on. Yes, it takes us one step forward, but it doesn't take us to Nirvana yet. It doesn't take us to the promised land yet, because it's a voluntary action. A voluntary action by one political leader and his appointees. Indeed, what the former president said is not enforceable by law. Perhaps what he will do is that if his appointees do not listen and follow his instructions and so on, they may be dismissed. Okay? And he has power to do that. It doesn't bind other political parties. It binds only, not even all NDC, but his own appointees only. But I think that we can move forward and insert these concerns, craft the law in a manner which takes account of all of these concerns so that we have a meaningful assets declaration regime. I recall that in the 2016 elections, Dr. Pakwesi made some promises about asset declaration, and Smart said that he was going to declare all of his assets publicly and so on. He did not become president, and therefore that promise was not fulfilled. Perhaps if he had become president, he would have fulfilled that promise. But there's a certain momentum for a change in the assets declaration regime. Indeed, there's a huge momentum for looking at the 1992 Constitution as a document all over again. And the momentum has gained some strength, especially in the light of the current pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. It was one of the issues which came up in the discussion of the pandemic was whether or not we could hold elections on December 7th. I'm not so sure yet, you understand, because anything can happen. Given the rate at which the disease is just spreading and so on, nobody knows what is likely to happen on December 7th. But then if we had a case where on December 7th we were not going to hold elections, it does appear that the Constitution does not give us sufficient clarity about what we ought to do and how to do it, in order to fill the void. So this void, this apparent void, and I use apparent advisedly, apparent void in the Constitution itself, provides a certain impetus, to the movement to review the entire 1992 Constitution. And in reviewing the 1992 Constitution, this situation about a national emergency which may affect the holding of elections, it's important to look at that. It's important to look at the assets declaration regime, and it will be important to look at representation at the local level, that is representation at the district and municipal levels and so on. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I'm happy that this discussion has begun.
Thank you. Quick commercial break. Stay with us. I'll return shortly.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast of the day. Every day. Every day.
Nestle. Good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned to Pan African Television. Let me say a special good morning to Alhaji Baba Seidu. You are watching us this morning. Parliamentary candidate for the NDC in Nalarugu Gabaga constituency. You're watching us. Good morning to you, sir. So final topics. Kafaba victim recounts ordeal.
Well, Kafaba victim and Kafaba.
Is Kafaba right?
Kafaba.
Okay.
Was heinous, unacceptable, disgusting, and should be condemned with the most strongest of words. I have never seen how old age should be a death sentence. And this one was even perpetrated by a fellow woman. That is what makes the thing totally barbaric. Because she's 90 and you are strong, self-styled princess. You can walk with agility. You never think you will get to 90.
Yeah.
And I can assure the princess that when she gets to 90, if she's lucky to get to 90, she might be worse than the woman. Because nature, have you ever seen an old lion? Will you think that that was the hunting lion? The Arabs have a proverb that if you never saw the beauty of your mother in her adolescence and only grew up to know your mother in old age, you will ask your father what motivated him to marry your mother. The woman was also a young woman, equidente. Probably when she was younger, she was more beautiful and agile than the princess. But nature, the very day they bring forth a child, he begins getting old because he begins accumulating years. And the years weaken you, prepares you to return. I pray to get to 90. But definitely if I get to 90, I won't be talking with, even 10, 20 years ago, I was not talking this way. But nature has adjusted me. And the woman's situation is more precarious. I said it here, I've never seen a group of people like men. We are not correct in the first place. We are made up of the X and Y chromosome. We are not perfect. And we think that we are perfect. And it is there's no man who was not born of a woman. And we still think that the women who brought us forth are inferior. And we have not seen this kind of thinking. I never understand it. When I say they say because I was last born. But you see, the woman, and I was not at all happy when there was delay in arresting her.
Yeah.
Because that was barbaric. I mean, the Constitution frowns upon cultural practices that are obnoxious are prohibited. The Constitution frowns upon that. Seriously. It's subjected to public execution. Public execution. Oh. What is more heinous than this? Because she's old. She's gone through, you see, when a woman is going through menopause,
Yeah.
you will see definite changes. Her hair will even fall off. She will forget about where she is. Part of it. She can get up and walk naked. There are the changes. There are changes. There are changes. There are no signs of witchcraft. There are changes that are inherent in the human being, even the man. There are changes. Your brain is not always fresh. It will decompose, it will degenerate. And when it degenerates, you act abnormally. Because you are no longer normal. And when you are acting abnormal, it doesn't make you a witch. Let the people of Kafava know and the people in the northern region know that there's no witch. There's no witch.
Oh, thank you.
There's no, British were putting people in the Thames.
Yeah.
The British, when they were at our state of development, they thought that they were witches. And they were putting people, the Thames was a place where they were killing people until they got enlightenment. Have you ever heard of a witch in Britain?
Richard.
I mean, this issue is extremely serious. Like, we need to understand that there are certain cultural practices that the Constitution frowns off. The lies of Chokosi system, this witch camps that are being kept, and other practices that seeks to denigrate humanity. All of this ought to be stopped. I mean, you cannot understand why people would just think that even somebody is supposed to have some powers. You go to these witch doctors, you go to see this princess or whatever it is, because you think they have extra powers. So if somebody also have extra power, why do you kill that person? The person who claims saw that this person is a witch, he has extra powers, whether it's from God or from Satan or from whatever it is. You believe it to be true. So why do you go and kill somebody because you think the person has power?
Have you ever seen them kill an educated person being declared a witch?
Yes.
Have
That's
you ever seen
the
mother of a rich man being declared a witch?
It's only the poor person. And that's the funny thing. And what people don't understand is that when you get to a certain age, it is normal that sometimes your hands will even be in the food and you'll be crying for hunger and you'll be saying you have not eaten the whole day. But the food is in front of you, you are eating. And somebody calls and they say, oh, Baba, oh, the whole day I have not even eaten. But you are eating. It is not that a person is lying. Because that's the status. The mind has registered that he has not eaten. And even forgotten that there's food in front of them and the person is eating. It's a medical condition. Dementia exists. So why do you, and people see some people who go through a lot of things and trauma, they are traumatized. So when they see things, they panic.
Yeah.
Sometimes people admit to things that they do not know. They have absolutely knowledge about. Sometimes you're fighting people, and because you are frightening them, whatever you say they should admit, you admit it. That is why you can't take evidence by beating somebody. And the court will not admit it. It's not admissible in any court. You cannot take that evidence. So in the same vein, once the principle is that once you are mounting pressure and you're beating, you're abusing the person, whatever it is that you want the person to concord to, the person will accept it.
Yeah.
Say you killed this person, say I did it. Because the person wants to be freed.
They only want to die and be free.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. Mr. Pratt.
Well, I'm just wondering whether there's any substantial difference between our national leaders who told us that COVID-19 is the work of the devil and that if we pray hard, COVID-19 will go away, and those responsible for lynching this woman.
That's a good one.
Richard, let's get a report of.
This is
Richard, let's get a report of. Richard, let's get a report of.
Didn't our national leaders tell us that COVID-19 is the work of the devil?
Nobody said it was the work of the devil. Let's pray that God.
So we prayed against God.
No, we pray that God gives us strength to carry on as a country. Gives us knowledge to be able to do this.
So, you know, superstition is superstition everywhere. Superstition is nonsensical. It can lead to lynching. It can lead to all kinds of things. And when national leaders themselves become excessively superstitious and ascribe problems and the solutions to problems to something divine or something devilish, the national leaders are no different from those who lynch this woman. The problem is superstition. The problem we are faced with is superstition, something which cannot be proven. Some people who claim that they can see what we cannot see. Some people who claim that as for them, they are in constant
Communication
that their mobile phones can call God. And God can tell them who is going to win election and who is not going to win election. It's the same thing. Yes. You have presidents who win elections and they hold press conferences to praise some of these charlatans. Charlatans, absolute charlatans, for their contribution to their election. Is that not an encouragement to superstition? I am sick and tired of superstition and its consequences in our country. We have electricity problems because we are in a drought season. Across the dam, the water level has gone down. What will the politicians do? They are sending priests to go and pray over the Akoso dam. What foolishness is that?
That's true. I mean,
Master, is the truth. You know, our politicians assemble priests to go and pray over the Akoso dam so that we will have electricity. This is the level of backwardness in our country, in our society. It's so backward, it's unbelievable. And then we decide, in the face of a huge hole in the national budget, more than 50 billion cedi hole in the budget, we decide that the little money we have, we will spend it to build a cathedral.
yeah.
I think
This is superstition.
the government is not spending money on that. Providing land and other stuff.
My time is up. Please let's allow the Zapa conclude.
Me, I believe.
Richard, you are making it worse. You are making it worse.
I mean, it's the same as government supporting
Richard,
to build the national Muslim.
No, government support.
The land was given.
But let's conclude.
The land was given by President Rawlings.
Richard, you are making
President
it
Mahama
worse.
supported it.
You are talking about government giving land for the building of a cathedral.
Yeah.
First of all, you know that you are not talking about the donation of fallow land.
Yeah.
You are talking about
Prime
land on which, not just prime,
Not prime.
land on which we have 3-year-old modern buildings. You collapse those buildings. I mean, what level of intelligence will lead a leader to do that? When there's so much fallow land in Accra, if you want to build a cathedral in Accra, there's fallow land. You go and break down expensive modern buildings that we have built with the taxpayers' money so that a cathedral will be built.
To the glory of God for giving him.
My goodness. And all of us here know. I want to see who is going to deny this. During elections, what do these leaders do? You don't know that they bury white cows alive so that they can get power?
NPP, we don't do that. In NPP, we don't do that. I don't know of NDC. Perhaps.
Richard.
I don't know who this
Richard, are you being honest? Richard,
Somebody back on the grave of a deceased person to become president.
Richard, put your hand on your chest.
Richard,
Do you believe what you're saying?
No, I don't believe that.
We don't do that.
Put your hand on your chest.
We don't do that.
We're done. My time is up.
Master, look, finally.
Yes, sir.
What has happened is horrible.
It's despicable, actually.
It is backward. What has happened is stupid, actually. What has happened cannot be justified under any circumstance. But we should tackle it holistically. You understand? Look, somebody has died. Many people have died as a result of the spread of superstition.
True.
I mean, yesterday I was telling the story of a secondary school headmistress or teacher who fell into coma. Was admitted at one of the most prestigious hospitals in this country. In 3 days' time, she came out of coma. Her pastor went and convinced her to stop the medications and go home because God has healed her already. She followed, within 1 week she was dead. That pastor and this lynch mob, what is the difference between them?
I think the same.
Why shouldn't we catch this pastor, catch him, and put him before court for murder.
Possibly,
if you have to tell all the stories here, we won't live here today. What these pastors and malams are doing, what these juju men and women are doing in our society, it's incredible. And today, there are many.
Pray to God to do for you when the pastor.
Today, there are many television stations when you switch on.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Advertising.
Doubling money.
For girls.
Yes.
It's terrible. I've not seen.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Look at when Professor Nana Jane Opoku Mensah was Ajimine was nominated to become the running mate to
somebody
the
sent a message.
You saw what that Malam did. That Malam quickly sent a message everywhere that she shouldn't drive her own car for 7 days, and that if she drives her car for 7 days, she will die. And that if she wants to be alive, she should come and see him. My respect for Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajimine grew when she said no to that nonsense. She said no to that nonsense.
Scientific.
What is this madness?
What madness is that? You have been led by science.
No, and our politicians actually believe that this useless archbishops and bishops,
but not only archbishops.
when they pray for them, they will win elections.
There are things that we don't say.
That they will win elections. So ignorant people who don't even understand the Bible, when they read the Bible, they cannot understand it, have all of a sudden become presidential priests and so on. And we are looking on.
But have you ever seen spirits voted in this country? Spirits, have you ever seen? It's not human beings. It's not after you have spoken to them.
There's one story I would have liked to tell you if there was.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt.
And put the fear.
It's fear. That's the whole thing. It's fear.
Compared to sell your house.
Thank you.
It's lack of confidence. It's lack of confidence. If you have confidence in yourself and so on. Master, me sitting here. Last week I told my story. I'm sitting in my office, some man in a collar, what is the clerical collar and so on, holding a briefcase with 3 people following him, enters my office. What is his story? That he has dreamt about me. So I said, you dreamt about me, so why? He said it's a very dangerous dream. That he dreamt that I was being chased by people somewhere around Medina. I was running, they were chasing me with guns and spears. I jumped into a pond and immediately 6 crocodiles emerged. So I should kneel down for him to pray for me. That should kneel down for him. So I said, you pray for me. So I said, you, when was the last time you went to church? So I saw him, he prays. He hasn't been to church for long. I said, my friend, from here, run to the nearest hospital because you are suffering from high fever. You have symptoms of high fever. If you don't treat these charlatans like that, they will turn our country upside down. The juju men, the bishops, and so on. They are all the same.
They claim to have supernatural powers.
It's superstition.
It's superstition. I mean.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. Richard, thank you very kindly. Honorable Inus Afseni, thank you very, very much for today. Tomorrow is Salah, right?
Yes.
So we're enjoying.
We're enjoying.
We're enjoying.
Except so, Thursday is far from tomorrow. I would have fried meat, cow meat. I didn't eat cow meat.
Master.
I'll fry it and bring it, and spice it and bring it here so that while we are talking, we are eating.
No, bring it.
So Thursday.
Bring it. Thursday. Yes, we will enjoy. But the viewers will enjoy so much.
The show.
Thank you very much. I'll see you guys.
So the nurse must ask from it has also arrived.
Listen, thank you very, very much. All right, so I'll see you guys. I don't know if we're going to come tomorrow, unless Mr. Franz pushes me tomorrow. They want to sleep.
There will be no sleep in Pan-African television. It's a 24-hour station, and it will be a 24-hour station.
Then we are back tomorrow.
And in fact, a lot of people will be expecting the morning show to be on tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So we should,
yes, sir.
You know.
Tomorrow we are here. I'll see you guys. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him